ton of stuff done today in the garage for the Porsche 911 engine rebuild. We ended up digging deeper into the cylinder heads just to verify what we were looking at. And it looks like, for the most part, 75% of it's good. One head did have a little bit of wear on a valve seat, so it's going to need a new valve seat on one of the cylinder heads, but I mean, 1 out of 12 ain't bad. So all the valves look good. I'm likely going to do new springs, definitely doing new seals. Everything cleaned up really, really well after disassembling and really getting into it. This is that one with that bad seat. You can see it in there. But other than that, it's getting really close to reassembly. Just gotta take this one to a machine shop, get that taken care of. The new pistons and cylinders, which I had to reorder like a third time, those are coming in. So what happened was I ended up ordering cylinders and pistons for the rebuild. It said no machining required. It was for my application. And after digging into it a little more, the compression ratio was way higher. So I called the company. I'm like, hey, you know, I just want to verify fitment because the compression ratio is way higher, but it says no machine work. So they looked into it a little further, and another company, then both companies basically said, we get these from the same place. And yeah, you're probably gonna have to change your cylinder heads if you go with these aftermarket pistons, because the dome of the piston would contact the head. So I ended up saying, screw it, forked over the money and bought all new OEM pistons and cylinders from Mahle. So it says they'll be here tomorrow. Hopefully it's the whole order and not just partial order. I have a box of stuff behind me that has to go to the zinc plater, and that will button up a lot of the like little accessories, arms brackets and stuff that are supposed to be that gold zinc, make it look proper. And pretty much everything sandblasted, that's steel, that needs to be powder coated back to black, so I can do that here, fortunately. But yeah, it's making a lot of progress, and I'll feel a lot better once the engine's assembled and it's just sitting on the side. But the seats, the new seat covers came in. They're known to fit really well. It's just they fit better if you have someone professional install them. So these seats are missing some padding, so I'm just gonna go ahead and pay a professional to reupholster these seats. I ended up talking to him. He's gonna end up doing the back seats as well, the rear quarter, side panels, everything. So all that's gonna get reupholstered. It's basically gonna be a full brand new interior, new carpet, everything. I am gonna do a new pan. So we started chipping away at that. That new pan's right there. Once we get the pedal set out, then we can get that new pan in, and then I'll have to weld all that together. Then I'll do a seam sealer, probably a POR in some areas, and then a Dynamat to help with some of that sound deadening, and just make the car feel a little more stout and sound a little quieter. But it's probably gonna be loud with the target down all the time. And that's the only update I have for you today. But yeah, a lot of hours put in today, so a lot of progress. It's now Thursday, and got a lot of stuff done this week on the 911. Last night was the cylinder head disassembly. Today was a lot of errand running, and came home to an exciting delivery, which was the factory pistons and cylinders. I was super excited to find these for a solid price, and it's all brand new OEM Mahle. So there will be no gray area in terms of rebuilding this motor with a different compression ratio and having to deal with, you know, tuning the MFI system and any other machine work. So that's exciting. I'm really excited that these came in. The only downside is it didn't come with this gasket here, so I'm gonna have to order those. But it did come with the circlips, so that's cool. And just have to deal with taking that 1-cylinder head tomorrow morning to the machine shop to get the valve seat replaced because of the water that that was on top of it. It pitted that valve seat. I did find a shop that's willing to do it. They seem confident in it, and really it's a pretty simple job for a capable machine shop, so we'll get that taken care of tomorrow. If anyone's interested in authentic Porsche chocolate milk, I should have a few gallons for you. For sale. Another day in the garage, and today we are prepping the heads. So gonna lap the valves, and then those will be ready for assembly. Got new springs, some other stuff in the mail, and I'm also gonna start powder coating some of the engine components, brackets and stuff. So I have this whole bin that's all sandblasted, ready for powder coat. So that's today. More Porsche stuff. So I think I am 99% ready to assemble this motor. I just got basically the remaining parts to put it back together, which was everything from zinc plating. That took longer than expected. It was like 2 to 3 weeks, but it was super necessary. So I did a bunch of hardware, fuel lines, brackets, and basically that was what was holding us up. A few specialty tools like a 46mm crow's foot to tighten the cam nut on the cams. You have to get inside of that cam box and tighten that to a pretty high torque spec. So you need a couple specialty tools, of course, piston ring compressor, and had to do some of the head work, but that's all done too. that was pretty time consuming, but luckily the machine shop knocked out the new valve seat super quick. It was like a day or two. I got some other stuff like got new valve springs. All the valves are lapped, head studs, all new cylinders and pistons, which I mentioned before. Just got to powder coat a couple things. I did the one valve cover already. Timing tensioners are good. They have good tension, but I did pick up these safety lockouts, which basically pinch the piston of the timing tensioner, and it allows the tensioner to still actuate out to maintain tension, but if it ever bleeds off, this basically pinches it and prevents that from happening. A friend recommended those, and they're going to come in handy. So new guides for the timing chain. That's cheap insurance. You can see all the zinc plating stuff here. A lot of these fuel lines look really crusty and bad, so it looks a lot better getting this stuff re-zinc plated. And basically I had to do one more clean of everything before it gets assembled. Probably toss it in the I'll toss it in the ultrasonic cleaner just to give it one last bath and make sure there's no media in anything. But making a lot of progress, and hopefully this is going to be a 1 or 2 session assembly. Just want to give it 1 or 2 good goes, and I don't want to just pick away at it over time. Bolt this surface here to your cylinder head, and then you place a dial gauge in this hole here and lock it in with a set screw, and the dial gauge will measure the valve lift at top dead center. So this is basically how you set timing on the air-cooled motor. So these are on the market. It's just, I think some of them are out of the country and just not quickly available. And I have a means to design this on AutoCAD, and someone already posted the drawing anyway. So I'm just making it on there, and I'm going to 3D print it. And if it's pretty rigid, then I'm going to use that. If it's not rigid enough, then I can always have this made out of aluminum. But yeah, that's basically what I'm doing now. And now back in the garage after working on that Z-shaped block for the dial gauge for setting timing. I 3D printed it and test fitted it here. And basically this is how it's going to work. This Z-shaped block here will bolt in right around there. And once you put a nut on this here, it's going to hold it tight. Your dial gauge will sit right about there with a set screw to hold it in place. And then I just need to install a longer pointer on the dial gauge to where it reaches the valve. And then as you turn the crank pulley to top dead center, this should have a certain amount of lift on the valve. So it goes according to the part number on the camshaft, which I haven't looked at yet. It could be like a 2.5 millimeters of lift, but basically how that'll work. I think this is going to work out pretty good. It feels rigid once it's bolted down, so I'm happy with that. And save some time from ordering that Z block from Germany. And I guess worst case, I could have had it made out of aluminum, but I don't think that's necessary. So it's cool. It's a win. So basically that wraps up part 2 of the 911 restoration and engine rebuild section. I'm basically ready to assemble the motor. So in part 3 of the engine rebuild, you'll likely see this thing going back together. I'd like to take 2 to 3 dedicated days or sessions to assemble it properly. I will film throughout. And also, in between working on the 911, I will likely introduce my LS swapped S14 here, and then that is my FD-RX-7, which you guys have not seen, and the FD will soon be getting the JZ swap. I ended up getting a subframe for the FD that fits a JZ from Jimmy Oaks. Thank you. He kindly donated that because he said that JZs don't belong in FDs, and I think he's dead wrong. But anyway, I will segue into the LS car soon and go over what's going on with that. Pretty much as I do stuff on the 911, and then as I'm waiting on parts and stuff, I will run over to the LS car and work on that. It's just enough stuff to where I pretty much hate every bit of coming out here. So, you know, what's better than one project car? Like 7. Fortunately, I get them all running eventually, but it just cost me my sanity. So, I don't know what's taking me so long to get the FD going, but I feel like I spend a decent amount of time getting these cars running, and I just make it work, and they end up being like a pretty cool street car. The FD, I want it to be done like, I guess, at a higher caliber than I normally do. So maybe that's what's, you know, making me take so long, but that was the dream car. So I do still absolutely love the FD-RX-7, and that was the first one I ever bought. I've had a few now, and but for now it's the Porsche 911 restoration, the LS swap, and then I also have the 190E with the Evo body conversion that I have to knock out. I've already done one of those, but I'm going to do another one. So there's an endless amount of content to go over, but that should give you an idea of what's to come. It's going to be a lot of Porsche, a lot of JZ stuff, and some LS stuff as well.